It is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025, and it is that time again for the UFL Week 2 attendance and TV ratings. I'll just say, I think this was a huge improvement over Week 1 and gives us some hope going into the rest of the season. So let's go ahead and dive into this. All numbers are courtesy of the GOAT himself, Mike Mitchell, over on X. So let's run down Week 2 attendance numbers first. So, of course, on the left side of the screen, you can see the presentation, you can see the 2024 numbers compared to the 2025 numbers. I'll always have these comparisons. I think these make a great comparison of where we're at with the UFL and the difference that year 1 and year 2 have essentially made. So this week's attendance numbers for Friday, April 4th game, the Stallions at the Panthers, 10,049. Now, of course, this is a significant number because of the fact that the Michigan Panthers, this is their highest attendance on record. Now, of course, we don't know, obviously, with the USFL in 2023, their attendance or their whatnot. Now, of course, as always, these are tickets distributed and overall people that are in attendance. So 10,049, absolutely amazing. This is a huge increase for the Michigan Panthers. And then, of course, we go to Saturday's game, the Memphis Showboats at the DC Defenders at Audi Field. This one got 13,142 people. This is an increase from last week's Defenders game, so absolutely great to see these numbers. And then, of course, Sunday's game wrapped up with the Roughnecks at the Renegades. This number dropped a little bit from last week for the Renegades at Choctaw Stadium, this time 9,582. And then, of course, the return to St. Louis for the final game of the week with the Brahmas and the Battlehawks. This game drew 32,115. Now, of course, with that being said, obviously you can see from the 2024 numbers, this is a pretty significant decrease from the Battlehawks game last year. Just about over 8,000 people drop in attendance. Again, poor marketing on the league's part. This is all part of this whole thing. But considering the fact that compared to last week and this week, numbers are up in the attendance game, obviously mainly because of the Battlehawks, but across the board in DC, Michigan's having their highest of all time, at least in the UFL, in attendance. This is great news. Week 2 total, 64,888 people, averaging 16,222. The UFL 2025 total attendance through 2 weeks is 98,753, averaging 12,344. Obviously, you can see the number difference between week 1 and week 2 of the 2024 season, with that total average dropping roughly almost about 18,000 people, give or take. And then that average is completely more than double of a drop in numbers. But again, we are starting to find a overall perspective of where the league should be, and it's kind of working out in that favor. So let's go ahead and move on to TV ratings, because this is where it gets good. So, of course, when we are looking at attendance or with TV ratings, and it's popping up on the screen here in just a second, we can see here UFL Week 2 comparison to 24 and 2025. So Friday, April 4th game on Fox, the Stallions at the Panthers at 8 p.m. Eastern time drew 659,000 viewers. Now, one thing that James Larson did point out here is this is an encouraging sign. Actually, hardly went down at all. Seems to show that that there is a consistent fan base for Friday nights. Also checks out with Memphis or Michigan being one of the stronger TV markets for the league. So great to see there. Obviously, it's a little bit of a dip from last week, but this is good. In my opinion, I agree with James Larson. I think this is good news. Then we had the Showboats at the Defenders at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, another primetime game on ABC on Saturday. That drew 621,000 viewers. And then we moved this Sunday for those two games. The Roughnecks and Renegades at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN drew 613,000 viewers. And then the big number, the biggest of them all, was the San Antonio Brahmas and the Battle Hawks at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1. Now, of course, there was a little bit of a delay with this. You had to turn into FS2 to see the start of the game due to NASCAR. But the lead-in to this was essentially a NASCAR race, which could have helped viewership out significantly on this one. Got 516,000 viewers on FS1. Now, of course, this is a big number. This is the highest rated game on FS1 I believe they've had. Almost double of what normally FS1 games get. So this is absolutely amazing. I know that Mike Mitchell had stated that the first 15 minutes of this game technically ended up getting an increase of a peak of almost 875,000 people. 875,000 people. Now, of course, with the NASCAR lead-in and stuff like that, that could potentially cue that. But if you look at the numbers, obviously, from last year in week 2, the numbers are down. But when we're looking at a perspective of the UFL 2025 season, the numbers are absolutely amazing here because we are seeing a consistency. We are seeing a increase, which we can see here between the 2 weeks on this slide here. The numbers are more consistent this week and higher in most realms of things, are higher across the board, especially for a game that's on FS1 getting a higher rating than an ESPN afternoon game, which is absolutely interesting to see. But again, the total number, we saw an increase of 171,000 more people tuning into the UFL in week 2 compared to week 1. So again, I think this week did very well for the UFL when we are in kind of a comparison of last week compared to this week. Now, the numbers from last year, we've talked about that in previous videos, talking about how there was more of a thing looking at the USFL versus the XFL storyline going on, the merger, that more people were tuned in and interested despite the fact of lack of marketing. We also have lack of marketing this year too, and we're still seeing more of a consistency across the board. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in week 3, but let me know in the comments what you think about all this, and then join me tomorrow. We will go over the weekly who, what, when, where, and how you can watch the UFL in week 3 and go down those matchups and everything like that. So we appreciate you joining us here today. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you back here on the flip side. Have a great one, everyone.